Top Texas officials say they will not comply with the deadline to allow federal border agents access to a park along the Rio Grande.
So the tension between the state and the federal government has led to some calls for the president to take control of the Texas National Guard. Fox 4's Blake Hansen in now with the latest. Blake.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, federal agents, the federal government had demanded that its agents get access to that park that has been a high crossing area by tomorrow. It is a small area on a big border, but it's a symbol of this dispute between the state and the feds that is ramping up. The state of Texas is adding more razor wire along the border even after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling paved the way for the feds to take it down. And Governor Abbott shared Thursday why he thinks there's constitutional backing for the state to do what it needs.
So it was the states that created the United States, and when the states voted to create the United States and have a constitution, included in that agreement was the compact that the federal government would take care of the states.
The Supreme Court ruling allows for federal agents to cut the razor wire, but there's been no decision yet on the case as a whole.
Regardless of what federal statute may exist, the supremacy clause means that the Constitution itself is the supreme law of the land. The Constitution itself provides Texas with a right of self-defense in this case, because the United States has abandoned its responsibility to defend Texas.
Meanwhile, federal officials demanded the state of Texas allow access to Shelby Park, a high crossing area the state took over earlier this month. Attorney General Ken Paxton told Fox News the state does not plan to comply with a Friday deadline to grant access.
We're talking about 2.5 miles of a 1,260-something mile border along Texas, and suddenly they've got to have access right here.
With the state and feds at odds along the border, some have called on President Biden to federalize the Texas National Guard. White House officials addressed the matter aboard Air Force One Thursday.
Is the administration considering federalizing the Texas National Guard?
About this the other day. I don't have any decisions with respect to that to speak to for the president. No, I don't have anything on that.
Meanwhile, optimism for a new border security deal in Washington appears to be waning. This after former President Donald Trump argued a deal would be meaningless and a gift to Democrats.
Former President Trump has indicated to senators that he does not want us to solve the problem at the border. He wants to lay the blame for the border at Biden. And the idea that someone running for president would say, please hurt the country so I can blame my opponent and help my politics is a shocking development.
Meanwhile, Senate negotiators say the legislation is close to done and don't agree with waiting.
I don't agree on that, and the reason I don't agree on that is, one, we have a constitutional responsibility to be able to protect the country and its safety. The things that are in this bill, Donald Trump would actually want to be able to have as president on this.
It is still unclear what the next steps might be for the Biden administration if that deadline tomorrow for park access is not met.